Live from the Xfinity Studios at WVON. You're listening to Stats and Stilettos.
Welcome to Stats tonight. Welcome to Stats. There are no stilettos in the building tonight. We are chilling. I'm in here in the building. This is Farouk Basir joining you tonight, bringing you some of the big-time sports talk we'll be having tonight. NFL playoffs, AFC, NFC championship recap. We'll be doing that with our weekly Around the League segment with Damon Spruiel coming up here in a minute. Coming up at 9:40, we will have Angela Taylor from networksports.com. She's been on the show before talking NBA. Tonight, she'll give us an even further breakdown of the NFL and a little mini Super Bowl preview probably. Coming up at 10:20, we're going to have on Ricardo A. Hazel he's a writer from EuroWeb, EURWeb, Electronic Urban Report, .com. And the reason we're having him, he wrote an interesting article. He's written plenty of interesting articles, but this one particularly about sports activism being dead. He wrote it a couple months back, but I found like this would be the perfect opportunity tonight to have him on to kind of get a one-on-one conversation about sports activism. Athletes nowadays, kind of losing their way, so to speak, or maybe they don't feel the need, or it isn't applicable nowadays for athletes to have to, give back or be socially active or aware, or who knows, we'll see where the conversation goes. You can feel free to join in tonight, though, in the conversation at 773-591-1690. That is 773-591-1690. You can also listen on the web at WVON.com. Go there and click on the iHeartRadio icon and take WVON with you wherever you go. And you can also follow the show on Twitter at Stats.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stats and Stilettos. Help you out.
Who's that talking right there? Who's that talking right there?
This is the Spruiel moderator for Around the League, but coming in and helping out Farouk since there is no stilettos in the house right now.
Exactly. And
backing up my brother.
Hey, I need it. Appreciate it. And you can also like the show on Facebook as well, like that show page. And, different things like that. First of all, of course, some of the big news. This is a pretty active past week. I guess the biggest news here being in Chicago, you think would be the Mark Trestman hiring. The Bears find their head coach, Mark Trestman. He's been a coach in the Canadian Football League here the last 5 years. He has a previous NFL history as an offensive coordinator for 17 years. He has been around. He knows the league, and he knows the players in the league. That could be said to be, I think it's the biggest story. A lot of people have been covering the Manti Te'o thing. We're going to talk about that, obviously, of course. That is a local school being Notre Dame. That's another big story as well. So we'll be talking about that as well. That's another big story. Manti Te'o, did he make this whole thing up? Was he in on this quote-unquote hoax with this imaginary girlfriend? We'll be talking about that tonight. What are your thoughts on that? Feel free to call in. Also, we'll be talking about Lance Armstrong. He kind of got, swept under the rug with the whole Manti Te'o thing. Everyone was talking about his interview with Oprah and looking forward to him jumping up and down on Oprah's couch.
I didn't know he had an interview with Oprah. Well, he had to be like the happiest guy in America right now.
Yeah. So he definitely got away from the spotlight after the whole Manti Te'o thing, particularly locally here in Chicago. So I know he was glad all that other news came out, and he apparently admitted that, he used like no one with a brain didn't know that he was using. So, we have that to talk about. We have the Bulls to talk about if we want to talk about that for a few minutes tonight. The Bulls, they're kind of just up and down here waiting for Derrick Rose to get healthy. They're hanging in there in the East. They've been surprisingly, to my surprise anyway, successful so far this year despite some pretty suspect coaching and some very suspect point guard play, particularly by one Nate Robinson, who you can see now why he's been on a million different teams as well. So just by watching him, particularly last night against the Memphis Grizzlies, he is OC. And everyone out there knows what that means. So it's just crazy with that. And like I said, we now have our Super Bowl participants. The game went final just before we went on the air, and we're going to get ourselves a Horror Bowl, and we'll be talking about that one all night long as the 49ers will be playing the Patriots in New Orleans in a couple of weeks. So we have a couple of weeks to talk about that. We have tonight to talk about that. So stay tuned for all of that. So what's been going on your mind so far this week, D?
Oh, man. The biggest thing had to be was a Te'o story. I mean, that came out. Yeah, man, came out of nowhere. I'm sitting in my cubicle in my 9 to 5, and next thing I know, it's coming across Twitter. I'm like, what is going on? I'm seeing my boys, they tweeting about it, and then I print out the whole entire story, and I'm like, what is this? Like, seriously? You never met your girlfriend, but you call her your girlfriend? Really? Is that fellas out there? I mean, I think y'all know what I'm talking about here. You ain't never meet your girlfriend, but that's your girlfriend, huh? I don't know. It seems kind of fishy and catfishy. Yes, I don't know if everybody ever saw that movie, but I saw it a couple of years ago. I thought it was a horror movie, but turns out it's about this dude who got tricked into dating this girl online, and now everybody knows the term catfish, and he got catfished, I guess. So it's still a lot coming out about that.
But how much of this is being like sensationalized by the media in general? Is it because this guy went to Notre Dame that this is happening?
Yeah,
right
I think so. I think it's the simple fact that he really used this in the Heisman, trying to boost him up, and it's coming to, now, a lot of details starting to come out that he kind of knew about this before, but he didn't really talk about it, didn't really expose it and tell people that he knew about it. So, but I do think, no doubt, the fact that the guy is at Notre Dame is huge.
Okay, we're kind of doing like a little quasi headlines thing right now.
Yeah.
So I think the Mark Trestman thing has to be the biggest story, considering the Bears don't.
That blew Trestman out the water, though. Crazy to say that. Chicago, new head coach, and the Notre Dame Te'o story kind of blew it out. It was everywhere.
I think I'm one of the few people that don't feel that way. I feel like the Trestman thing was so important, and then not only with him, but they found like a pretty good, I think, who's going to be a pretty good offensive coordinator. But I'm saying pretty good. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, the Trestman thing, while we have a few minutes here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of reserving judgment on him. I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, this is horrible. How can you hire a guy who's a Canadian Football League head coach? He's been out of league, he's out of touch. While that's one of my fears, I can't say that that's the reason why he wouldn't succeed or the reason why he would fail at this job now. So I don't want to be one of those rushing to judgment right now saying, well, this guy doesn't have a chance or he's going to be great, because who knows what he's going to be in the NFL right now. And we need to at least, it's like a draft. We need to at least give this guy an opportunity to pass or fail.
Yeah, no
right
doubt.
Now, I think so. And just a lot of people are just really going off of the deep end with their assessment of this hiring right now.
I think you're kind of prejudging the fact of where he came from. But they're not really thinking about it, actually, where he came from. 20-plus years, I think, in the NFL. Offensive coordinator for quite a few teams. Offensive coordinator when he was with the Oakland Raiders, when Rich Gannon was the MVP. Helped coach Steve Young and multiple places. So the guy has that success, if you want to say, in the NFL. He just never got the chance to get a job, but now he does. So I think everybody, I'm with you. Kind of take a step back, observe it first year or so, check out his hires, and let's see where it goes from right now.
Well, only thing you can joke about the way he looks. His hair.
You can do that.
But, who knows what he's going to be? You
right.
know what I'm saying? Who knows what he's going to be? All we know is that he knows how to work with quarterbacks. And some things that were during his press conference that I found pretty interesting, kind of listening to it off and on, is he really didn't give an endorsement to Cutler.
Yes.
And that was like the major thing from that to me. He was asked point blank, does he think that Cutler is a franchise quarterback? And he has a future as a politician if he doesn't want to be a head coach, because he tap danced right around that.
He did the 1-2-1-2 shuffle around that question. That was kind of interesting. But you know what? He's not married to Jay.
Yeah.
He's a new guy coming in. Jay doesn't have a long-term contract. And you want to what was kind of interesting, the fact that Emory came out and said, like, yes, I think Jay Cutler is a franchise quarterback. You hire the guy, go through a strenuous process of trying to find a guy. So you found your guy, but he doesn't say, I think he's a franchise quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see how they mesh together, because I've put my ear to the ground, and he's not a stickler, but he wants you to know what's going on, and he will hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And as far as we saw with Lovie Smith, maybe behind closed doors, but this guy kind of seems like he can kind of put it on Front Street on you. You know what I'm saying? Put it out there like, listen, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. So we're going to see how he really works with Jay and if it's going to be a perfect marriage.
I want to see that. I also want to see who winds up being the defensive coordinator and what defense do they decide to use. Are they going to stick with this 4-3? Now, apparently, you have all the guys on the defensive end that loved Lovey. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. My personal view is if I go ahead and just clean it out completely as far as that defense. Because we were talking about during the season where they were aging and they kind of tailed off toward the end of the year. If you're going to bring in a guy who's, a 3-4 defensive coordinator, why not? Don't let their scheme be the reason you don't hire them as far as the defensive coordinator. Rob Marinelli, their former coordinator, won't be back. He decided, he's not going to work for Trestman. So I wouldn't just specifically try to find a guy who does cover 2 or a guy who does 4-3. I'd go find the best available person, and if he just so happens to, have a 3-4 as his repertoire, then, you're going to have to make some changes. And I'd be okay with the Bears revamping the defense.
You know what? I'm looking on the website right now, ChicagoBears.com. It said we have Mel Tucker as the defensive coordinator. So
he's not going to be the defensive line coach.
Not defensive line coach. No, it says defensive coordinator.
Okay.
So,
I get away. What's up?
you know what that music means. That's time for Around the League. I am your moderator, Damon Spruiel, right here on Stats and Stilettos. No Stilettos tonight, so it's just stats. That's what we're going to hop into. Going to talk about these NFC and AFC championship games. First one, let's go ahead and do it by time. Let's go. San Francisco, 28, Atlanta, 24. He had Colin Kaepernick go for 16 for 21, 233 yards, 1 touchdown with a rating of 127.7. Wow, the kid got down. You got Matt Ryan, 30 for 42, 396 yards, 3 touchdowns and 1 interception. He had Frank Gore run for 21 rushes, had 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then you had Jacquizz Rodgers, 2 touchdowns, 32 yards. And also Julio Jones, 11 targets, 182 yards for and 2 touchdowns. But you know what? The Dirty Birds didn't do it. I think surprised I don't see this huge grin on your face right about now.
I'm not a Falcons hater. I'm a realist, and their quarterback is not that good. He was the reason he lost a fumble, threw a couple of interceptions, and they had a big lead, and at no point did I think they were going to win the game today. It was like last week. They were up 17-zip. Yep. And I'm sitting there like, okay, 49ers will do it any second now, and they got it going. The Falcons, their secondary, it was too weak for them to sustain a 17-point lead, I think. They don't get enough pass rush on a guy like Kaepernick, which you need a pass rush on, to sustain a 17-point lead as well. They don't really do a lot of things that are awe-inspiring to me. They have some outstanding receivers. They don't run the ball enough, even though
Michael Turner got hurt.
But Jacquizz Rodgers was looking pretty decent. He could have gotten the ball more. But, they want to put the ball in the hands of Matt Ryan, and, that was a big fumble.
Hey, two series back-to-back. You had an interception, then you had that fumble.
Yeah.
Yeah, he really, it wasn't Matty Ice. I think I saw somebody on Twitter say he was Matty Tap Water. He did not have a really good game in the second half, and we had just seen this in the week before, last week against the Seattle Seahawks. They walked them down too. And I think a lot of people out there can actually say this. Seattle should have won that game, but all the,
their coaching lost it.
Right,
so
the coaching lost it.
That wasn't anything Atlanta did that won them that game last week. That was the other team losing it. And today, Atlanta lost the game. They had it in control. You think at home again with another big lead?
Yes. And this time you don't need you needed a touchdown, not a field goal. So it was interesting because I haven't seen Matt Ryan.
Yeah, just call him Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan. Matthew. I'm gonna go Matthew Ryan. Haven't seen him come back and get the touchdown. Yeah. Usually, you can put him in field goal range, and then he'll get the field goal. And then they'll kick the field goal and win the game. But this time they needed a touchdown and just couldn't do it. But let's go over to Colin Kaepernick though. This guy, out of nowhere, man, he's making Jim Harbaugh look like a genius right now.
And he didn't have to run the ball. He only had 2 rushing attempts today. 2.
It was a read option.
Yeah.
That completely confused Atlanta's defense. It's like, I don't know which way. Who's going to take it? Frank Gore or is it going to be Colin Kaepernick? So it's amazing to see that. And I think we were talking about this last week, the emergence of we always had the mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
But now with Russell Wilson and you have Colin Kaepernick, Joe Flacco, no, he's not that. But with this read option and spread option in the NFL, how is the defense really going to catch up to it?
Right, because the difference is these guys can throw now.
Exactly.
It's not just a running back there.
Right.
Playing Wildcat pretty much. That's what all it was. Mm-hmm. Now you've added the element of a guy with a great arm. Like I said, only 2 rushing attempts today, but he was able to keep players alive by moving around in the pocket. Very efficient with his pass completions. And Kaepernick, he's proven them right. I didn't think he would. I didn't think they would get this far with him as their quarterback.
I think it's shocking to a lot of people. This kid kind of comes out of nowhere. You take over the quarterback duties of a guy and Alex Smith, who just went to the NFC Championship.
Yep.
They should have. You can say they should have been in the Super Bowl if it wasn't for Kenny Williams' son. Was Kyle Williams?
Kyle
with the fumbles.
Yeah.
They could have been in the Super Bowl last year. So for him to come in and, I mean, just take over the reins and just run this team, man, and just give them so many different options with his arms, with his legs, and completely confusing the defense, man. You know, Jim Harbaugh is coaching them up, and they doing anything, man. They're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I mean, the move worked. The 49ers got to a round further than they got last year. Last year they lose the NFC title game. Now they're going to the Super Bowl. So credit to that. And like I was saying last week, there's no such thing as a great defense because the 49ers were held as this great defense. Atlanta was moving the ball at will. It was just turnovers were the thing that was killing them today. I mean, almost 400 passing yards for Ryan, and they still had decent rushing numbers a few times they did run the ball.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
you can't call the 49ers a great defense.
You think we ever see a great defense again? Because so many rules, and I mean, I know we kind of going off subject, but I just want to throw it out there. Anybody out there listening to, you think we'll ever see a great defense again?
I doubt
so
it.
many rules, you know. Man,
it's been legislated out. You know, you saw there was a one pass interference, roughing the passer, where Kaepernick kind of just got smacked on his face mask.
Right.
And they called that roughing the passer.
Right.
So with stuff like that, it's impossible to have a great defense because it's to the point also where if you take one step after a quarterback has released the ball and hit him, that's roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer, 15 yards.
You know, and then you get all these ticky-tack pass interference calls, you know. How can you have a great defense? How can you hold teams to under 10 points a game? You know, doing that with those type of calls. It's just not possible these days to have that.
That's why I felt that the Seahawks were going to be kind of the anomaly to what we're talking about because the defense was holding teams like under 15 points.
They played great.
Didn't happen, you know, but, you know, they Atlanta came and put some points up and they just couldn't hold them off.
Coaching lost that game.
Yeah, but coaching lost that game too. So, yeah, defense, I don't know, you know, we're not going to see those 85 Bears again. I'm sorry.
No, it's not happening.
It's not happening. It's not happening. Even with the game, it's going ahead and hop over to the other game.
Congrats to the 49ers.
Oh, yes, congrats.
NFC
yes.
champions.
Congrats. Oh, this is their 6th Super Bowl, and they had
5-0.
5-0. They've never lost a Super Bowl.
Chicago Bulls numbers.
That's right. So let's go to the next game. The game just went off. The AFC Championship. Baltimore 28, New England Patriots 13. Had Joe Flacco. Somebody called him Bazooka Joe today. It was kind of weird. 21 for 36, 240 yards, 3 touchdowns with a rating of 106. He had Tom Brady 29 for 54, 320 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions with a 62 rating. Wow, you don't really see that from Tom Brady. Yeah, Ray Rice run for 48 yards, and he had a touchdown. Stephen Ridley, man, big fumble. He ran for 7 yards, but a huge fumble. And also that injury did not look that great either. Mm-hmm. And on the other side of the ball, we had Anquan Bolden go for 60 yards, 2 touchdowns as well. So this wraps up the Hard Bowl. I think everybody going to be saying that. Hashtag Hard Bowl. Yep. Baltimore goes up to Foxborough and puts it on New England.
Well, they're very comfortable there. They won a playoff game there a couple years ago. They play them tough every time they play them. They beat them earlier this year at home. But, yeah, they were down, but the Patriots had a lot of opportunities early in this game to kind of get more than the field goal that they did get earlier. And they wound up at the half actually mismanaging the clock, which is rare for the Patriots
very
before
rare.
half. That was shocking to see them kind of blow that at the end like that and have to settle for a field goal in the first half. The Patriots are known. They're like the epitome of everything done the proper way as far as on the field in the NFL.
Right.
And just losing out right there and mismanaging the clock, that cost them a touchdown possibly, or at least a couple of shots to the touchdown. They wound up having to settle for a 6-point halftime lead, and they didn't score again.
Did not score again. The Baltimore defense definitely stepped up. One thing I do want to throw it out there to everybody. Once again, Stats and Stilettos right here on WVON 773-591-1690. If you got any thoughts on these NFC and AFC games, championship games. Tom Brady. Are we seeing, the sun setting on the career for Tom Brady?
I don't know how much it was for that.
Because how old is he? About 36, 35, 36 years old? I mean, you don't see too many quarterbacks playing to their 38, 39.
I don't think so. I think this one, you're talking specifically about this game. I think it was more about the Ravens
They just know him?
They're rolling. They know him. They're rolling. They got the whole that emotional thing with football. It plays a role in football more than any other sport, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of get behind some emotion for a little while. It doesn't really happen in baseball or anything. And to a certain extent, it can happen in the NBA, I think.
A little bit.
Particularly in football, you're out there yelling and screaming and stuff. You can kind of ride that for something. Now, with this week layoff they'll have for the Super Bowl, I don't know how much of a factor that will play into their next game. But I think they've ridden this little Ray Lewis wave combined with some great quarterbacking by Flacco now. Let's be honest.
Definitely.
He's played very well.
Definitely. He's probably been the best quarterback so far in these playoffs.
Yeah. So, you get those two things working, particularly the quarterbacking thing. But when you get those two things working, you're going to be tough to beat. And when you get a team that their whole style and everything, I'm happy for the Ravens. I'm happy for Ray Lewis. He's had, his share of trouble, some stuff that, he could have prevented himself. But I'm happy for him. He's going out on a high note right now.
Yes, he is. And you know what? I'm sure Joe Flacco has to be very happy because a lot of people just did not believe in him.
You're talking to one of them.
Yeah,
right
there you
now.
go. Yeah. I mean, but I'm not going to say he always won in the playoffs, but he won his first 5 games in the playoffs. He's been winning the playoffs, been going consistently since he's been in the NFL, just haven't been able to get to that hump. And this is his second or third AFC Championship game, and to do it against Tom Brady, who did not have a good game at all.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to give kudos to the Ravens defense, but Belichick and Brady didn't do their thing.
Not at all. So now we'll see what the Patriots been going. To answer your question, long-winded, no, I don't think he's at the end. Tom.
You don't?
I don't. I think he has a few more good years left, and as long as he's in this system that he's in, I think the Patriots will be back. People were kind of writing them off after the Super Bowl last year, the Patriots. So I wouldn't be too quick to do that.
And they haven't been last time they went to the Super Bowl was the undefeated season.
No, they were there last year, the Patriots.
Oh, last year. That's right.
That's when they lost.
Oh, yeah, to the Giants.
And that's when people were writing them off, and it was like, all the Patriots done. Was this their last hurrah? They didn't look that great offensively in the Super Bowl last year, so Patriots aren't going anywhere. Brady isn't going anywhere. Not for the next few years, I don't think, anyway.
All right, well, just the fact that, like I said, Ray Lewis and those boys really know us. But to go back to Ray Lewis, it's going out on a high note like this. I mean, this is John Elway type stuff. Saying you're going to retire and emotionally, as you stated before, riding your team or your team riding you going to the NFL Super Bowl. Man, it's huge. It's huge. 2 times. It's the second time going. He's undefeated, if you want to say. We got San Francisco, like I said before. They're 5-0. They've never lost when they got to the Super Bowl.
Right.
So this is going to be one interesting Super Bowl. Horrible, I'm sorry. I'm not calling it Super Bowl.
Horrible one. So there it is right there. So if you guys have any comments out there on the upcoming Super Bowl or on these games today in general, we want to do a quick recap of the game, 773-591-6090. Hit us on Twitter as well, at Stats Stilettos. Tonight is stats.
Just stats.
None of those things that women wear on their feet going around here. But, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this game coming up here, Not for the simple fact of the whole brother thing, because that's going to get beaten to death in people's heads here over the next couple of weeks. I'm not really looking forward to it. Even I'll be happy when the game gets here.
Okay.
I'll say about that. But for the next 2 weeks, I'm not looking forward.
It's going to be so many storylines, man. Many storylines. It's going to
be that. It's going to be the Ray Lewis thing. It's going to be, people are going to be asking him about the whole Atlanta thing again. They're going to be talking about that.
You think so?
Yes. Because he doesn't talk about it.
But I mean, that was years ago, though. You still think they're coming to bring him up?
Yes, because he doesn't talk about it. Somebody is going to, poke at him about it. I'm pretty sure, I can guarantee they will. As many reporters descend on these Super Bowl, things and events, and they got 2 weeks, it'll come up. It'll come up.
I mean, the incident didn't happen last time they went to. Well, that next year they went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's gonna come up. So the only way it won't is if he declines interviews.
That's not going to happen. So Reverend Ray is not going to turn down an interview.
Yeah, so and then I got a kick out of him today, kind of crying during the national anthem. I'm like, wow, I understand he was geeked and everything, but the whole,
I got a feeling Ray kind of playing to the camera too.
Yeah, but
this last season, I think he kind of playing it up.
I think I left a tweet on someone tweeted that out, and I replied with I'd be patriotic too if I got away with and then I was like,
a little slash.
Yeah, a little cutting and slashing. Even though he's not a running back, got away with a little of that. So I think I'd be real patriotic and crying during the national anthem. But all that aside, like I said, I dig Ray Lewis. He's had a great career. He's been one of the best middle linebackers the sport has ever seen.
Best middle linebacker for the past, how long he's been playing in the league?
He's been playing since 96.
96? So best over that span.
Oh, easily. I mean,
second, maybe Brian Urlacher.
I was going to say a lot of people in Chicago might not want to hear that. But, yeah, he's been head and shoulders over Urlacher. Urlacher's been great, but not to the level of Ray.
Yeah, we could say Ray Lewis, Brian Urlacher, too, with that time frame.
Distant, too.
Yeah.
Way back there.
Way back there?
All the way back there.
Way back there?
Got to, get a mic, get it, in the rear view.
Wow, you need a telescope. Farouk saying
Yeah.
we need a telescope to see Brown Urlacher.
Yeah, but
All
I
right.
don't think it's that close. But that's not saying I'm not an Urlacher fan.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Well, so you got Ray Lewis, like I said before. You also have the quarterback stories. Guy coming from a small college in Delaware going to the Super Bowl. You got Colin Kaepernick,
Baseball player,
right?
Multi-talented athlete. You got that. You got the great linebacker story for San Francisco. You got the Ed Reed.
Could this be Ed Reed's last season?
He finally makes it there. He'd never been to the Super Bowl.
Right.
He wasn't around for that first run for the Ravens. So you got that going. So you got the whole who's the guy? I forgot his Brigance, the guy in the wheelchair.
Oh yeah.
So they'll be playing that up, because he gave a little speech at the end of the game tonight.
I believe Art Modell passed away this year.
Got Art Modell. So there'll be a whole lot of things that have nothing to do with what's going to happen on the field in 2 weeks in New Orleans.
But as soon as they kick it off, then it's going to go, saying full football until Beyonce comes on, do her thing at halftime, which I am very excited to see.
Hoping for some wardrobe malfunctions that night, huh?
Oh.
It's like the Michigan game, when I lost my girlfriend and my grandma, that was possibly the hardest time of my life.
This evening, a huge story caught everyone by surprise. A love story that led to a kind of sensational hoax. The star athlete for the Notre Dame football team riveted the nation with his inspiring story of a girlfriend who had died of leukemia. It turns out that girl apparently never existed.
Manti Te'o, the star linebacker for Notre Dame, enduring the death of both his grandmother and then his girlfriend, Lene Kekua, within just 6 hours.
You take the love of my life. Last thing she said to me was, "I love you." My older brother called me, and he was just crying and crying and crying. And that's when I kind of knew, but I was still in denial.
Stop lying. Stop lying.
Welcome back here to the show. Stats. And, that's Manti Te'o out there, spreading garbage amongst the masses here. You got Farouk, you got Demons, you got Angela Taylor from networksports.com on the line. She's been blessing us with her vast knowledge, and now we're going to kind of shift into this. You didn't sound too happy about the Te'o subject being brought up before the break, Angela.
No, it's just has to be one of the strangest things that any of us have ever heard in sports or in anything. And I just remember reading the Deadspin article and just waiting to get to the punchline. And it just has to be. There's no way that this is real. And the more and more you read it, you're like, okay, if this was real, like, does this guy completely, like, the most naive individual you've ever met? And then thinking, is he part of this plan? Like, no one could be that naive. And just, how it cycled and having Jack Swarbrick, actually, cry during a press conference
yeah,
in
that
between,
was just too much.
Wasn't that too much? I mean, I'm like, I respect the fact that, you're supporting one of yours. It's questionable considering all the different things that we've heard from Notre Dame the last couple of years that they could have made a solid stance on, the alleged rape or, the young equipment manager who was on the tower who died during the storm, and for them to make such a strong stance in this situation without doing a thorough investigation. So the first thing that I thought about was when he said that he didn't talk to any of his teammates. So you had this thorough investigation. You spent money on a nationally recognized firm, but you didn't talk to any of his teammates to find out if this, in fact, was true or not. And so it just was the most bizarre situation, and even leading into the Jeremy Schaap interview with him, and now Katie Couric, who, represented by the same firm, CAA Sports. So this is going to probably go on and on. I think most of us are ready for it to end. It just is a crazy situation. But how do you guys feel about it? Do you think he was part of it from the beginning, or he was duped and just embellished a little bit?
I think he eventually found out, but when he saw the unpouring support and all these like foundations being made and money's being raised, and it's kind of like, well, I can't say nothing now. I might as well keep on rolling with it until I guess.
Sounds like the story we were just talking about before the break, huh?
Yeah. I mean, just keep on rolling with it. It's just crazy to see that either this guy has to be the most gullible guy, or the guy who pulled it off. I must say this: if I was a teenager and I put off this prank, I would talk about this prank to the day I die. I had ESPN talking about my prank on this guy. I mean, it's crazy to see how far this went. But you know what? I want to go a different direction. How do you all think that this is going to affect his draft status? Because if I'm a GM, and Angela, please feel free. If I'm a GM and I see that A, he's like the most gullible guy, or B, you are the most diabolical guy in the world, you know, I'm kind of looking at you with a side eye like, I don't know if I should use a at least first round pick on you. What do you think about his draft stats? How do you think this is going to affect him?
Well, I would just, point back to Janoris Jenkins or Des Bryant. You could be naive, you could be the biggest liar, but if you can tackle and make plays when you get on the football field, I think that is what the NFL is about. And so, it's going to implore these, general managers and teams to do a little bit further investigation into his profile. His interviews are going to be a little bit longer. But if his numbers check out at the combine, and when they put the tape in, and if the tape doesn't lie, then I don't think it's going to really affect his draft status that much. The thing that's going to affect his draft status is his poor performance against Alabama, where he couldn't, make any tackles, where those Alabama offensive linemen were driving him off the ball. I think that's going to have a bigger effect than, whatever this whole, Lene Kakua situation was. But if the guy can play, we found out in the NFL, it's not really about what you do off the field. It's about what you do on the field.
All right, Angela. Well, we appreciate your time tonight. Appreciate you dropping all the science on us. And tell everybody where to find you one more time before we let you go.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Networks Sports, and that's Networks_sports. You also can find me on my website, which is www.networksports.com. And I appreciate you guys having me on the show. You guys do a great job. It's always fun listening to your take on what's going on across the sports world. And good luck to your Chicago teams. Your Bulls look pretty good.
Yeah.
That's right, Angela. Thank you. I'm repping the Bulls over here. Thank you.
They're looking pretty good without Derrick Rose. So, they're going to be dangerous if he gets healthy and he's back on the court after All-Star.
We'll see. Thanks a lot, Angela.
Thanks, Angela.
All right. You guys have a good night.
All right,
Take care.
Too. All right, Angela Taylor joining us from the Bay Area. So, that was pretty interesting, her take. And this whole Manti Te'o thing is just nuts. I believe he was in on it 100%. I think personally he's a glory hound that was loving the spotlight, loving the shine, loving the cameras in his face. Mm-hmm. And he got caught up. And the university is complicit in this as well because they've known since, it said they found out, December the 26th or something like that. But, they knew before that.
Yeah, that story, and I'm with you. Sticking their necks out that far for this kid is ridiculous. But I want to go back to one thing Angela was brought up. Uh-huh. And it kind of ties back into the Te'o story. The fact that Lance Armstrong, I would guess, picked Oprah Winfrey to have his interview, his coming out of some sorts. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Te'o with Katie Couric. Yeah. Seems like if they're going to people, not ladies, but they're going to people who's not really sports
it's going to softball
knowledgeable.
They're pretty softball.
Especially, and like 3 o'clock in the afternoon on ABC, where most housewives are, doing their thing. Or if you're at home, you're watching the Katie Couric show, or you're watching the Oprah Winfrey Network. And seeing this guy and see both of these guys kind of go through these sports, saying confessions. It's kind of interesting they went that route, All
right, thank you to everybody for listening out there tonight. Thank you to my man D, Demond Spruiel, for joining me and keeping me company. Thank you to everybody that helped out on the show. And say good night, kids.
Good night. Good night.
Peace.
Peace.